The movie opens with a monologue from Darwin, who tells us that it has been 9 years since the Great War, which ended with a massive chemical warfare. Billions of people died as the planet quickly became unlivable, so to preserve life, people like Darwin were put into sanctuary pods. The year is 2041, and Darwin has spent the last 9 years in the pod. Life in the pod is not glamorous, as it is a small metal building where you're stuck in for possibly your whole life. But it is safer than the outside, which is filled with poison. Darwin's life is very repetitive. He wakes up on his chair, he then gets scanned by the computer system and then assigned a job. Darwin assigned a job as a miner, so he controls a tractor virtually and mines minerals which will be sent to the world government. In return, he gets fresh food delivered to him. It is also a better life than playing a game all day every day for the rest of his life, so he is a very diligent worker. Darwin also spends his days trying to contact his mother, who is supposed to be in another pod, but he never gets a response from her. In a quick flashback, we see Darwin's mom taking him to his pod as he was a teenage boy. His father left just before the bombs dropped, so his mom had to make the hard decision to put him into a pod and never seeing him again. One day, while Darwin is mining, he sees a dog far in the trees. Confused, he tries to get closer, but he is stopped by his computer system, who orders him to get back to work. He is told he will be easily replaced if he doesn't obey orders, so Darwin apologizes and gets back to work. That night, he gets awakened by a massive thunderstorm. He looks through his small window and sees a lightning coming for his pod. The lightning then strikes his pod and shuts down the power. A backup battery power deployed by his emergency system, but that will only power survival programs. Days pass as Darwin waits for someone to fix his pod, but no one is coming. His purified air is also running out, so he will have to figure out something soon. Another few days pass, and he is informed by his system that only 5% of purified air remains, giving him 15 minutes to do something, with no other choice. Darwin decides to wear an oxygen mask and go out of the pod so he can check the damage himself and fix it. He then starts walking outside and inspecting the area, but his oxygen mask quickly runs out of oxygen, so he runs back to his pod and tries to clog the door, which doesn't work, as he gets informed that battery percent has reached 0% and the system fully shuts down. Darwin sits on the floor as he expects to die, but nothing happens. He can breathe the air with no problem, and he is not getting sick at all. He then grabs a toy that his mom gave him and he decides to go out and find her. Darwin hasn't walked more than 10 feet in the last 9 years, so he struggles to properly walk, but he is determined. So he starts his journey with the scorching heat. He sees birds flying as he is walking around, but he doesn't see another life anywhere close. He continues his journey, but his body is about to give up. He hasn't eaten or drank for days, and that combined with the sudden physical movement his body is about to give up, but then he hears the dog he saw, and as he gets close to the noise, he sees a woman named Dara watching him. Darwin tries to walk to her, but she gets scared and runs away. Dara then tells her mum that the police might have found them, and the whole family gets ready for the worst. Darwin makes his way through the woods and close to Lily's, the mother of Dara, home. And as soon as Lily sees him, she figures out he is not the police. You see, since the war ended, the world government has ordered everyone to live in a pod, and people who refuse would go to prison. But people who figured out that the air is clean now have escaped, and they live in the woods. Lily is one of those people, and she has taken in her adopted kids, and they all live in the woods hidden from the government. Her kids, Stevens, Susie and Beth, then come out of their hiding, and Lily gives Darwin some food and drinking water. Lily then tries to talk to him, but Darwin can't talk back. Since Darwin spent 9 years in the pod and communicated with the system through his keyboard, he never talked, so he has forgotten how to speak. Lily sees Darwin is just a lost man, so she offers him a room to stay in. And for the first time in years, Darwin gets a good sleep surrounded by nature. The next morning, after drinking some tea, Lily, Dara, Stevens and Darwin sit together. Lily then tells Darwin to use the table as a keyboard and type what he wants to say, and Stevens will be able to understand him. And with that method, Darwin manages to communicate with Lily and tells her about his pod and about his mother. Everyone else has now warmed up to Darwin, and they teach him how to play games. Darwin then joins them and has fun after a very long time. That night, we see Darwin going to his mom's pod and trying to communicate with her. But he gets captured by a surveillance drone, and he is asked where he has been for the last 23 days. Darwin doesn't answer, but the drone scans his brain and figures out everything that Darwin did. Darwin screams as he tries to not give up Lily. Then suddenly, he wakes up from his dream. But the dream was so vivid that it felt real to him. Dara hears him crying on his bed, so she comforts him, and calms him down. In the next few days, we see Darwin trying to get into normal life. He starts learning how to shower and brush his teeth. As before the machine cleaned him up by using a sanitizer, he also learns to communicate better, even though he still can't properly talk. He also gets very close to Dara and spends most of his days with her. And after a few days, he even starts talking a little with her. They both seem to like each other very much, which also makes Lily happy, as Dara has finally found someone she likes. Dara's father was selected to repopulate the Earth, so she hasn't seen him since she was a kid. Darwin's father had also been selected, but Darwin doesn't know for sure if his father is still alive. The next day, the whole family gathers to go swimming in a river that is on the other side of the woods. Stevens is the best scout, so he goes out first and checks to see if any drones are there. They arrive at the river and everyone swims and has fun. Darwin and Dara then go to a hillside alone and they start talking about their dreams. Dara talks about how before the war, people used to get married and the father would stay with the family forever, and Darwin responds by saying he would like to do that. They then stare into each other's eyes and confess their love before having a passionate kiss. On their way back, Beth starts asking for them to change her towel as she doesn't like hers, but everyone says, so she then drops a piece of clothing as she fights with Stevens to get his towel, and a surveillance drone finds it and starts following the trail. Stevens then notices the drone coming from afar, and he tells everyone to hide. Everyone then hides behind and rocks and in the trees as the drone scans the area. Thankfully, the drone doesn't see anyone. But this is the closest that the family have come to being caught. Everyone now is freaked out, and Beth blames Darwin for the incident. She says the drones were probably looking for him and that if he doesn't leave, they are all going to get captured. Lily defends him by saying that was just a coincidence, but tells everyone to stay indoors until everything is safe again. That night, Darwin is sitting outside alone. Dara then joins him and asks him why he is not in his bed. She then realizes that he is contemplating leaving and confronts him. Darwin tells her Beth is right and that if he doesn't leave, he is going to put everyone in danger. This gets Dara mad, as this is another man that is going to leave her after promising not to, and she runs away crying. The next morning, Darwin says goodbye to everyone except Dara, who is still mad at him. He asks Lily to tell Dara that he loves her, and he starts making his way out. Darwin had decided to continue his mission of finding his mother, and he plans to make the day's journey to her pod. On his way, he dodges drones and he finds a universal communicator. He then contacts his mom and asks her if she is there, and he finally gets a message back from her. He informs her he is coming to her pod and asks her to open the door for him once he arrives. He then reaches her pod later that day and knocks on her door. He tells her he is really him and tells her about the air. But instead of opening the door, his mom presses the emergency button which summons a drone. The drone scans Darwin and asks him where he has been for the last few weeks. Darwin then responds by saying he was staying with his mom and that she must have forgotten to report it. The drone then asks why she pressed the emergency button, and Darwin says it's because she heard a voice outside. The drone seems convinced by his answer, so it tells Darwin that he has been removed from the missing persons list and warns him of leaving his post again. After the drone leaves, Darwin goes back to his mom's door and begs her to open. She then opens it, and when he enters, he finds her playing a video game and smoking. She looks very unhealthy, and her mind doesn't seem to work properly. Darwin tries to talk to her, but she gives him no response. Darwin's mom has spent the last 9 years looking at a screen and smoking. She also doesn't move, so her body doesn't work. She is basically in a coma. Darwin tries to convince his mother to come with him, but again he gets no response, so he takes over her computer and tries to get into his security camera view. He tries to enter with his account, but he gets denied access. He then gets in with his mom's ID and finds the security feed from the day he went out of his pod. He wanted to show his mom that the air is really clean, but he notices that his feed continues. He then sees himself as he goes through the woods and meets with Dara and her family. The drones had been following him this whole time, but no one came to search for him. He then sees his every move have been recorded, and he realizes the reason no one came to capture him is because there is no one to. The world government has fallen, but some people in power are keeping the people in the pod by lying to them about the air and scaring them with drones that can't actually do anything. Darwin looks at his mother and realizes that he won't be getting the mother he knew as a kid. He then tells her he loves her and starts making his way out of the pod. Then his mom finally speaks to him and asks him if he has played Steam Drifters, which was their favorite game. Darwin then tells her that he has finished it and that he reached paradise. We then see his mom smile as Darwin leaves. In another monologue, Darwin tells us that even after knowing the world government has failed, thousands of people still decided to live in their pod as they had become brainwashed with their time there. They don't know any other way of life, so they live and die stuck in a metal tube. Darwin also tells us that a lot of people broke out of their pods and started a new community. The remainder of the world government tried to scare them into becoming their slave labor, but no one was scared of them now. The drones had no power and they were seen just as birds. In the last scene of the movie, we see Darwin going back to Dara, they make up, and an older Darwin tells us that she becomes his wife and they start their new family free. The end.